strong feedback for each other within flirt communicators. The ultimate thing in a evaluation is what we like to call the sandwich method. We're going to do something positive, we'll give some feedback, and we'll finish with some encouraging words. So if you think of the first piece of bread, this is something I like that you did. The meat and the vegetables are something that I might suggest for improvement. And the other piece of bread is your best quality. I think one of the things we need to remember as an evaluator is that these are comments about how I think or feel, and I am not judging or telling you what you should do. So suggested comments might be something like, my reaction was, or it appeared to me, I felt that. A couple other ones were, I really connected with you when, I really appreciate, the best suggestion I can offer. And often we hear people say, you should have, you failed to, you're opening. So my advice to you would be to use I statements, which are better than you statements, which is great, but what are we going to talk about? So let's just look at one of the things that we have as evaluators, and our tool above all tools is our vocabulary. So the more we understand what a really good speech looks like, the better we can actually bring the speaker to understand our vision of what we think they could have done. So our vocabulary, if it is specific and detailed, is really strong and will be an effective evaluation for the speaker. I like to divide it into 4 sections, and today I'm going to give you some examples of how we could use our vocabulary to express the words we heard, the structure we saw, what people did with their body, and what they did with their voice. So if we look first at words, or the way that they use language, the number one thing I think as an evaluator or an audience member is to understand what was the speaker's message. Ola today was talking to us about communication styles. She had lots of details and some really vivid expressions. I just wrote some down. Don't interrupt me. Wait, wait, wait. Get to the point. Cater according to us. Or, and I love this expression, work together. As an evaluator, I give her back the strong words or the strong images that she gave to me. And I point out interesting examples using exact quotes from her speech. So as an evaluator, think about the words that you hear, the expression, and if they're really strong, if they're really good and you get that picture in your head, tell the speaker. If you have a suggestion for something more, so possibly she might have described a soccer player to us. So when you're telling us about the football team, well, I want to see the athletic, strong, bronzed, hair flying back, fast running soccer player. So there's just examples of where we could actually provide some kind of improvement. The structure is what did they bring, and the order or the map, I like to think of, that they presented. So I would always listen, and as an evaluator, I write down the first thing they said. And Ola said, good evening, in a very strong and energetic voice. She caught my attention. I was like, she is on fire. I want to hear what she has to say. She had a structure that went from talking about the football to the dialogue with her friend, and then the explanation that she finally brought to us about her dialogue with her friend. She used a little bit of discussion about the analogy with football and then had a conclusion. So generally, the roadmap was really clear and easy to follow. The transitions between the football field and the conversation maybe weren't as strong, and I might have suggested, can you give me a better transition? Her conclusion in the end, she asked us what football team are you on? And I think maybe if each strategy of football could have been compared to a communication style, I might have seen the connection a little bit more easily. So we want to talk about the words, we want to talk about the structure, and one of the biggest things, and you've got it in the room, I do it on Zoom, and we've had to learn how to do it on Zoom, is what can I do with my body? My body includes my face, very importantly, my eyes, but I do with my hands? And when we're standing on Zoom or when we're in a room, what do I do with my feet or my stage? So as an evaluator, I can say, I loved your smile. You connected with the audience really well because of your eye contact. Your hands were moving all the time and none of the gestures meant anything. So slow down and only use a gesture when you want to emphasize something. And often with feet, people will just pace back and forth. Wow, look at me use this stage, and there's no reason for going back and forth. When you have one point in one part, when you change or you transition to something different, use the stage to use your feet to use that stage space to demonstrate a transition. And each part of our gestures or our body language can add to the importance of our message. And the fourth part, we had words, structure, body, and most importantly is voice, because we can communicate to blind people and they don't need to see what we're doing. So we want to talk about pauses, how much energy or passion was in their voice. Did they get excited? Were they really dull and boring? Was it monotone? Did they change how they draw us in with a really quiet whisper? And one of the things, I know you've heard this before, how fast did they speak? Slow down. Allow people with the use of pauses to catch up and understand your point or your story or your key line. What was following me? It was a little dog. And adding those pauses will let everybody catch up to the parts of the story and be able to follow along. I think one of the things we often do is shove too much information into too little space, and maybe all of that information could be 2 or 3 different presentations. So as you go forward being an evaluator, I hope that wasn't too mind-boggling, but remember there's some key things you want to do to give a winning evaluation. Always go back to the objectives. Today, Ola's objectives were very clearly to talk about communication, and she did show us different types and where she uses or the analytical or, and I've just forgotten the other kind, where it was more of a detailed with analytical or not so much and more to the point with other people. Always, always, always be encouraging. My suggestion is be very specific in the vocabulary you use. Always give them a point to grow on. And as much as you can demonstrate the way to use the body, the voice, or to rearrange a structure. And finish strong every time. And as Ralph Smedley, the founder of Toastmasters, said, let us share the benefits we've gained for ourselves with others. As we go through Toastmasters, we learn what a better presentation or a more effective speech is like. And through our role as evaluators, we can pass that on to the next generation of Toastmasters. Back to you, Ruby.